perspective, I think one of the biggest things that we struggle with is having the actual time to see our students and to work with our students and to really relate to our students in order to understand them as human beings and to connect with them in the way that we need to. A lot of tasks teachers are being asked to do, which steals so much of that time away from creating that relationship and focusing on the child. Even though we tend to say schools are for children and it's about the child, what really ends up happening is that the focus largely becomes upon all the paperwork that needs to be done around the day-to-day running of a classroom. The standardized movement, standardized testing, has really started to take a hold in Sweden too. I've seen it in the last 15 years. It wasn't here 15 years ago, but it is becoming more and more so that way, where it seems Sweden is looking more towards countries such as the UK or the States in order to see how we can control schools, control learning through testing and measuring data to see if our children are actually learning. But unfortunately what's happening is we're moving away. Once again, I go back to the human connection, the human relationships, the really getting to know our students and giving them the opportunity to develop their curiosity, and also allowing teachers to have that energy to be able to develop that curiosity as well as being taken away from them because of this obsession with the standardized movement.
That the traditional schools only develop like 1/10 of our intelligence, of our whole self.
From a very early age they start to feel this feeling of I have no contribution to make, so it puts them off from actually wanting to develop, to continue on that path of learning. That really is what we should be doing, is supporting them in becoming lifelong learners and seeing themselves as lifelong learners with all these different capacities, not just cognitive and linguistic.
You know, all of these other the things that we're not addressing in schools today, they are probably the most important when we go into a future that is more complex, where we see this rise in nationalism and hate and ignorance, and you know, being able to be a global citizen, it's going to be so much more important. Today kids aren't really like that, and
no, they're much more aware of their freedoms and also their we have taught them to be able to use their voice. But we're also simultaneously stifling their voice by not giving them the right opportunities to be able to use their voice in a way so they can contribute towards society in the way that I believe all children are born with that desire to contribute something good towards society.
And when we have started our school, what will be different with it?
I think the first thing you would notice that would be different with the school is the very system in which it will operate. That will be our biggest change, because with the Teal School we are leaving behind the industrial paradigm, and we're entering into what is now, what is new. The analogy of it won't be an organisation but an organism, where we will see and understand that it's something that is living and breathing, and it's growing, and it's something that is moving, and it's not something that we can always control and set targets, I guess. I think I'm using this a bit here, because we're moving away from that command and control structure to more of a consensus way of doing things, not only amongst the staff but also that will be reflected within the classrooms or the learning spaces as well. That would be one of the big differences, most definitely. And another one that I believe would be a striking difference is that we will have children of different ages working together, because we know that this system of organising children according to their birth date, it's crazy, because we know how the human brain works. We know so much more about the way the human brain works, and we know that everyone learns at different times and different paces, and some children can be more linguistic, some can be more mathematical, some can be more artistic in their abilities and have better awareness of in one area of learning compared to another area of learning. And perhaps even if they are at the age of 7, they're still able to enter a dialogue with a 9-year-old about a storybook, a character, and be able to also share and show the same amount of empathy as a child who's older than them, whereas another 7-year-old may not be ready for that yet. And instead of making them feel that there's something wrong with them, that they're unable to see that, we help them to understand that they're just not there yet in their learning process, because learning is a process.
And working like this really makes the learners active in their own learning, and also help them develop empathy towards others. Working with self-management and having the teachers self-manage and be in control of their own work environment is also a very important part of this. And I think when people talk about Teal, they talk a lot about self-organizing, self-management, and we just want to say that the other two parts that Frederick Laloux is talking about, the wholeness and the evolutionary purpose, we feel that they are equally important. The self-organization, the system, how the structure is set up is of course important, and it's visible, but the evolutionary purpose and the wholeness, they're so vital for the development of humans. I mean, both the teachers and the students are supposed to develop in this environment. It's very much based on how to handle complexity, and we at the same time teach the students how to handle complexity, because we kind of give them tools as they experience this.